This is going to be a complete guide on how to beat the Scorched Earth map in Ark Survival Evolved. If you haven't already seen my video on how to beat the island, you should probably watch that first, since I'm not going to go over the basics that you learned playing the island map. Instead, I'm going to talk about everything new to Scorched Earth and how you beat this map in particular. So let's start out with the basics. The first thing is we're going to start off and we're going to spawn in Midlands 4, which is one of the easy zones. You can start off any of the easy zones, and the basics are fairly simple. You just loot bushes, you hit trees, you pick up stones, the same thing you do in normal Ark. The only big difference in Scorched Earth is that whenever you go near water, there are going to be things that are going to try to kill you. So getting to water is going to be a nightmare, especially since there is a intense heat that will actually drain your health the entire time when it's very, very hot. So you want to kind of build a thatch 1x1 house as often and early as possible so that you can hide in here to get the housing buff so that your temperature isn't so hot that you can actually then heal over time while you just progress slowly, right? You can also get water from these cactus sap things here. When you harvest the cactus, you're actually able to eat the cactus itself, and it will actually replenish your water. I also highly recommend putting points into fortitude before you put points into anything else when you're leveling up. You want to get your fortitude as high as possible so that it makes temperature not hurt as much, right? Apart from that, there are basic animals like the jerboa that you can kill as your dodos of the Scorched Earth to get early game hide and meat. Now, this map does come with a various amount of different, weather conditions, like a super heat wave, as you can see here by the giant red flame at the bottom of the screen. This is a very hot place. You just need to be inside your house here. You also get dust storms and everything. Anytime there is a weather event, it's usually just best to stay inside. In the early game, it's a good idea to look for oil jug bugs and water jug bugs that you can either drink water from or take water from, actually, as well as collect oil from these bugs, which is an early way to get oil in the game. You also want to be on the lookout for these purple flowers that you find on the game in various areas. When you find these, you can get silk from them, you can get rare mushrooms, and you can also get rare flowers. You're going to be using this a lot during your playthrough. This will be especially helpful so that you can craft a tent, which is a portable kind of structure that when you're out in the wild, you put this down when there's like a super heat wave or a dust storm or something so that you don't get affected by the weather conditions. This is a way to survive when you're far away from your base. So make sure you carry one of these in your inventory. Now, you will take a lot of damage on this map, so I highly recommend having a cooking pot down, using these ingredients, the red berries, thatch, narcotics, and water skins to craft medical brews to heal yourself when you're away from the base and you need healing because you're dying. There's also a very helpful resource that you can get by harvesting bones that you find out in the wild. Certain bones can be harvested to give you raw salt. You can also find salt rocks, and when you use salt along with sulfur, which I'm going to show you soon, you'll be able to craft something called preserving salt. And when you put this in your inventory or a dinosaur's inventory where there's resources or materials that can spoil like food or meat, you can put preserving salt there with it so that it takes longer to spoil. Now, for looking for metal, obsidian, crystal, and sulfur, you'll go to those coordinates on the map over here. This is going to be a dangerous area, so I recommend either having an Argentavis or taming an Argentavis in this area, or having something as backup, because you will be encountering some more dangerous dinosaurs here, obviously, because this is where the rich resources are, like the metal and the crystal and everything. So, obviously, as you go up here, you'll see when the area starts to look like this, and there's like all the black rock, you'll know that there's metal, there's sulfur. Sulfur looks like this, by the way. There's also crystal and obsidian around in this area, so you can get all those resources around mountaintops that have a very similar look to what this terrain looks like. If you're looking for silica pearls, you can go to the green obelisk and look in the water. Be careful, there are dangerous things near all water sources in the game. But if you find any of the rivers, you should be able to find these over here, and when you loot them, you will receive silica pearls. So while you'll spend most of your early game in cloth armor, which is great for the heat, you want to craft desert armor, desert cloth armor specifically, as early as you can, because this is the best armor to wear with the desert, because it will give you the most kind of protection from the heat. Throughout the game, you will find these water veins. They look like this. You can drink from them directly, or you can also craft a well or find a well in a drop and place it on top of this so that you have a water source that you can constantly drink from or refill all of your, water sacks or things that can hold water. But also keep in mind, water does drain from anything that holds water, like on your inventory, so be careful with that. You should also note that when you place down reservoirs, if it rains, these will also fill up, though rain is very, very rare. So yeah, it's probably best to eventually set up near a river or water source once you can set up the defenses to deal with the dangerous animals or dinosaurs in that area. Similar to the water veins, you will also find oil veins around the map, right? And when you get a oil pump, you can place these on top over here that will passively gain oil over time. So make sure you note down these locations and then come here after a few days or a few hours, and you should be able to collect oil that is collected in its inventory while you've been away. To collect or get things like polymer or organic polymer, I highly recommend taming yourself a Megatherium, going out into the desert, which looks like this, the very sandy area, and finding the mantis dinosaurs. And when you kill these, you will actually get polymer, a bunch of chitin, and it's just a great place to farm both of those two things. You can also get a lot of meat too, but you're obviously going to get chitin and organic polymer the most by using a Megatherium in the desert. You'll also get access to the flaming arrows that are actually quite easy to craft. At first, I always thought these were like very difficult and hard to make. In fact, all you have to do is go to a chemistry bench and you'll see the propellant that you can use. All you need is oil, sulfur, and cactus sap, which are relatively easy to get, and you use this with normal arrows to craft flame arrows. And these do in fact burn your enemy for ticking fire damage as they are on fire. They burn and take damage from it, which is great. Now, your two best utility and explorer dinos are going to be the Thylacoleo and the Megatherium. The Thylacoleo is probably a little bit better because it does bleeding damage that takes the enemy's health down by 5% while it bleeds, and the Megatherium does insane damage to insect-type enemies, which you will find in all the caves that we'll be visiting. However, the Thylacoleo can do jumps and stuff, which the Megatherium cannot, so if you can, try get 2 of them. At this point, you should also focus on getting your T-Rex army, because again, we are going to be using Rexes for the final boss, the Manticore of the Scorched Earth. There is only one boss on this map, so you only have to do 3 caves, beat 1 boss, and you're done. So we're going to use T-Rexes for this one. And now it's time to get Wyverns. Now, if you played the island map, you know that these are a new dinosaur, scary things. You get fire, lightning, and poison versions of the Wyverns. Now, we have a little forward operating base over here that has turrets on, and what we're going to do is we're going to lead Wyverns over there so that they can get shot down from the turrets and die, because we actually need to collect an item from each of the inventories called a talon, right? Each kind has a talon. There is a fire talon, a lightning talon, and a poison talon. Now, in order to do the boss, you need 2 of each kind of talon for gamma difficulty, 10 of each kind for beta difficulty, and 20 of each kind for alpha difficulty, along with the artifacts. So essentially what you want to do is get an Argentavis or anything that flies fast or moves fast, or even just snipe off the edge and try to bring the Wyverns to your FOB, your forward operating base, so that they can basically get shot down. So just like this, make sure your Argentavis has a lot of HP so that it can tank the hits, and also try not to get hit by any fire, lightning, or poison bolts that they can shoot at you, because they will kill you very quickly. Once you kill them, all you have to do is go loot their inventory and pick up the talon of their kind. And now you just have to repeat this process, 20 times for each kind for alpha difficulty, which is gonna, take some time. Or you could always just raise your own Wyverns to go attack other Wyverns and kill them that way. That also could work and be a helpful, process of killing these things a lot quicker. Unfortunately, you do have to go into the Wyvern Trench over here to go pick up the eggs while avoiding any Wyverns that are around, because they will attack you once you pick up an egg. And you also have to hope that the egg is a high level. They spawn in nests like these all over the trench area like this. So just go ahead, pick up the egg. Just be careful. They are heavy in weight. They weigh about 50 each. Now, Wyverns, if you didn't know, cannot be tamed. However, you can knock out the female ones or kill an alpha one, and they will drop a rare resource called Wyvern Milk. Now, this is essential to raising the babies of Wyverns, and without it, on servers that are on default settings, your Wyvern will most likely die before it can ever mature without Wyvern Milk. Now, one of the easier ways to hatch these early on is by placing standing torches all around it and then lighting them one by one so that you can incubate the Wyvern egg as long as you have the perfect temperature. Now, when the Wyvern hatches and you imprint on it, it will require Wyvern milk to drink as well as to imprint on it so that you can get its imprinting status to 100%. And that's in general for all the Wyverns in the game. They are often seen as one of the favorite flying creatures that people use across of Ark, so yeah, it's definitely something you should definitely try and tame if you've never had one before. It's one hell of an experience. Now let's talk about the Deathworms. Now, if you've been unlucky to encounter a Deathworm in the desert, these are giant worms that if you press the K button on your keyboard and you kind of zoom out so you can see here, you see that worm in the distance, that is a Deathworm, and this is the easiest way to find them is by using the camera, the orbital camera, and looking underground. Now, when you get near them, they will pop out of the ground and you will fight them. These are quite tough and can be difficult to deal with. I highly recommend using either your Thylacoleo with a good saddle, a high level, or a Megatherium. And just before you encounter it, try kill an insect so that you have the insect buff, because you can see my damage from the insect buff was 487, but without the buff I'm down to 187, but I will still be able to kill it. Now, when you do kill a Deathworm, you get Deathworm horns, you can get things like leech blood, and various other types of like angular gels or organic polymer. Now, while you can use the Deathworm horns to tame Mantis on the map, you can also use the leech blood or the worms themselves in the chemistry bench to craft lesser antidotes with obviously rare flowers, rare mushrooms, and narcotics. Now, these are perfect to deal with rabies from those bats or onyx that you will find in the caves that we're about to go find the artifacts in. And now it's time to go find the artifacts. The first one is Artifact of the Gatekeeper. At this location, as you can see, this is roughly in the middle map. And all you have to do is travel to this location or these coordinates, and this is the cave entrance over here. Well, it's not the cave entrance, but this is a ravine that we're going to be traveling through. This is what the entrance looks like from the outside, in case you don't know what you're looking for. From here, we're going through this kind of ravine, and we're going to follow it to the cave entrance, which is located inside. So when you go in here, all you have to do is follow through here. Just stick to the left as you progress through this little part here, and just follow along here. When you see this area up here, we need to get at the top of that area, and you'll see this when you go left here, there'll be an entrance or a path upwards to our right, and when you go up this section over here, you go back to the right here, down this side, back where we came from, and we're on the upper end now, and this is the entrance of the cave. So we're gonna go through here. So follow along with me here. This one is super easy. All we're going to do is we're going to take every single right path. So as we're walking, just take every single right turn that you can possibly take. Now, these are in no means any difficult types of caves. They're not like the island ones where you can easily get lost. They're very wide, big, unopen kind of cavern type of caves. They're actually really nice, and they have a lot of detail to them. So all you have to do is just keep following along this path over here. Stick with me. As soon as you get to this little bridge section and you see this kind of like yellow thing on the left wall, you can drop down on the left here, and you'll see that the rest of this room actually leads to this place anyway. And from here, you are going to have to cryopod your Thylacoleo, which I recommend bringing a Thylacoleo or a Megatherium for this cave, because you'll find a lot of insect type creatures. From here, all you're going to do is jump down this right side over here with your Thylacoleo, and you see that orange glow in the distance? That is where the artifact is kept. Now, usually there'll be a lot of onyx in here. I just had to like reset because there is a little bug with single player servers where sometimes the artifact does not spawn, and all you have to do is close your game and start it up again, and that will spawn the artifact. Now we're just waiting for enemies to spawn, so usually there will be a bunch of enemies here, and this is where you'll find the artifact itself at the end of the cave. The next artifact's cave is located over here, so this is what the entrance looks like. It is at the northern left side of the map here, as you can see on my map at these coordinates right over here. Now be careful, there are some rock golems in here. I do recommend using the Thylacoleo for this one because you are going to be doing some jumping, and it's also a great way to kind of like skip a bunch of the enemies in this cave. So this is what the area looks like. You can see the cave is in that dark little hole pit at the ground over there, and we're going to go and we're going to run through this. Now this is going to be quite simple. All you have to do in this cave is take every single left turn. Now I'm going to do this while avoiding fights with every single dinosaur as much as I can here. So we're just going to speed run all the way to the end. There aren't any like, you know, small sections with the Thylacoleo. You can run all the way to the end. Just take every single left turn that you can here. You'll see there is some water in this cave, and we're just going to keep jumping over it. Stick to the left like I mentioned, and we just follow along this path. You can literally just sprint through here with your Thylacoleo, jumping over enemies, avoiding them entirely. Jump down here, take the left path down here, and just to make it nice and simple, you'll see when you get down here, there is a little jump. Make sure you jump over there, don't get stuck in the water, and just keep sprinting or running down here, and we'll end up in a big chamber, and you'll see there's like a hole in the wall on the other side. Now in there is the artifact of the Crag. This is where we'll be picking up the artifact of the Crag, and their rock golem just like appeared there and disappeared. That was creepy and scary at the same time, and this is how you get the artifact for the Crag. For the final cave, we'll be heading towards the southern eastern side of the map, so that's the bottom right at these coordinates right over here. This is what it looks like. It's basically in the middle of the desert, kind of like all these ruined buildings here. It's the biggest building over here, as you can see, this one in particular, and when we go inside of it, we're going to bring a thylacoleo as well as those antidotes that we used earlier, because these will be fantastic here to avoid getting the rabies, right? So all we're going to do is run through this cave, and we're going to take every single left turn that we can. So following along with me here, just keep going this direction, taking every single left that you can. This one is a very interesting cave, very detailed. It looks fantastic. It's probably one of the nicest caves. I actually wanted to set my base up in here for like once I got to the bigger regions at the bottom, because it looks amazing. It's very detailed. If you think this is great right now, wait until you see the giant chamber that we're heading towards. You can see there is a little mural of the Manticore on the wall there, and we're just going along here, taking this left turn, and we're just proceeding this way. Now take left over here. Avoid all the mantis, or just fight them, or the arthroplura, just kill them as well, or avoid them. It's up to you. I'm using the thylacoleo to just jump through. Now here, when you get to this big open area, you are going to jump carefully on this left side from these pillar to pillar, or like these giant columns of ground, and we're going to go along the left side over here. Now there also is a rock golem, or maybe even rock golems in this area, so if you see any suspiciously yellow rocks, like giant big ones, you should be careful of those, because those turn into rock golems. So you'll see on the left here, this is where the artifact is, in a nice little area. Kind of reminds me a bit of World of Warcraft, reminds me of one of the dungeons there. And yeah, just kill everything here and just pick up the artifact, and you have all 3 artifacts for the Scorched Earth map. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about mutations and getting your army ready. I am going to talk about what dinosaurs you need, right? So we're going to use 18 T-Rexes, we're going to use a Uranus, and a Daedon. Now the Daedon is for healing. You put it on passive healing to heal all of the dinosaurs in the region. For the Uranus, we'll be using the Courage Roll. We'll be riding that one ourselves, and all the T-Rexes will be just be, you know, doing our raw damage. We'll also need a rifle, a sniper rifle, a fabricated sniper rifle in particular, one that is as good as possible with some good damage. You'll also want to bring some med brews to heal. You want to bring food, and you'll also want to bring something like a gas mask. You'll want gas mask in particular. I also brought Kalian soup, which helps for this fight. So we're going to use the gas mask here because we are going to accidentally get poisoned by the Manticore's attacks sometimes, because it does poison attacks. So wear a gas mask for this fight, and let's proceed to what you need to start the fight yet again. So if you recall earlier, we have to get 20 of each talon with all the 3 artifacts to start this fight in alpha difficulty, 10 for beta difficulty, and 2 for gamma difficulty, the easiest. Let's go for alpha. Now, as soon as you're in the arena, you want to get on your Uranus and you want to start courage roaring, as well as setting your dinosaurs to either neutral, aggressive, or attack this target. Now, the Manticore will fly for most of the time in this kind of like arena, right? So you want to be careful of where it lands, and you want to avoid its kind of poisonous strikes that you'll see it shoots from its tail, both when it's flying and when it's landed. So what you want to do is wait for it to land, and then tell your dinosaurs to attack it immediately so that you can start damaging it while using your Uranus to courage roll all of your T-Rexes and dinos while it attacks the Manticore. Just keep in mind, it's not going to be on the ground the entire time. It does fly around quite a lot, and at some point at lower levels of its health, it will start spawning in Deathworms as well as rock golems. So be careful of those in the later end of the fight. Now the sniper rifle is for when the Manticore is flying around and you're off in the distance. Make sure your dinosaur alone is on passive so that it doesn't run off. And this is so that you can get off your dinosaur and use your sniper rifle to shoot the Manticore while it's flying around to get some extra damage on it while it's in the air, because obviously your dinosaurs cannot attack it while it's flying. The only real threat here is to make sure your dinosaurs don't get cornered by the rock golems, because there are very little chances that they're going to kill the rock golems before, you know, they die themselves. So try to keep them away from the rock golems, but also keep them on the boss as soon as the boss lands. Like right now, I'm waiting for the boss to land, and I'm telling all my dinosaurs to stay relatively close to me by using the commands, the whistle commands, like go here and attack this target, you know, when applicable, which is something you should use all the time, right? So we're just waiting for the Manticore to come down. As soon as it lands, we are going to kill it. Now, when you beat the boss, you will get a variety of different things. You will get element, depending on the difficulty. You'll get a flag, as well as the Manticore trophy for the difficulty you defeated in. In Gamma difficulty, these are the tech unlocks you will be getting. And you can see here, this is also the boss's like stats at Gamma difficulty. On Beta difficulty, these are all the tech things that you will unlock, all the engrams, and also the stats of the Manticore at Beta difficulty, so that you know what you're up against. And for Alpha, this is everything you're going to unlock. Now, of course, if you do Alpha or Beta, you unlock everything on the easier difficulty too, and those are the stats as well. And that is the Manticore fight. This is what the Manticore flag looks like in the Alpha difficulty. This is what the trophy looks like in the Alpha difficulty. It looks kind of scary. Looks like a very interesting one. And then also these are the skins you can get for the Manticore armor set skins here. The helmet, chestplate, gloves, pants, boots, shield, and the sword. You also get a torch as well as a spear, as you probably saw from the artifact caves earlier. I hope this guide helped you, and thank you so much for watching.